Hi, welcome to the lesson 4 project. In this project, we are going to create a game that is called Tic-Tac-Toe. So, this game, as you already know, that it is based on a concept that whoever has three consecutive same symbols in rows, columns, or diagonal wise, that player is considered and declared to be as a winner of the game. If no one has it and all the 9 blocks have been filled, then the game is drawn. So this is the basic concept of the game, but we will learn a lot about functions, character arrays, if-else statements, logical operators, and much more by creating this project. So let's start. First of all, we will understand the logic behind building this project step by step. So our first step is to have a checkboard. So our first objective is to create a presentation of our game. So our game should look like this in our output screen where user will enter their place of symbol. Okay, so they will enter the position where they want their symbol to be and then later calculation. But the first thing that we have to do is to design this board. Okay, so let's go. So first of all, we will have a character array. We will name this as board. So if we name this as board, then now we will have some values in it. So we need 6 places. Okay, sorry, 6 not 9 places. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we will remove this one. So now we have 9 empty blocks. So what we will do is that we will replace each block with a space character. So later on we can apply some check conditions in it. And we will have 2 symbols for 2 different players. So player 1, that is equals to, let's say, a cross symbol, and character player 2 will have a capital O symbol. Okay, so what we have so far, let's have a look. So far we have an array of characters like this, where we have indexes ranging from 0 till 8, and we have 2 symbols, one is cross and another is capital O. Now the first thing that we have to do is that we have to rearrange this array in such order that it should look like this. Okay, how it should look? It should look like this. So let's go and design this presentation in our function. So we will have a function named as patron, okay, and we will receive a character reference to our, so we will be dealing with pass by reference as we have discussed in very detail in our function. So if you do not know about pass by reference, you can watch that video, but in short, I can tell you it is giving the access to the memory location of the variable. Now let's have simple cout statements. You will say that board 0 element and then board first index board second index. Okay, and then we will have cout and we have these symbols just to create that simulation of our board. Okay. So endl is must because we want every row to be separated. Okay, let's call this function and see how does it look. If there are some adjustments to be made, we should make it. Okay. So we have a board looking like this and it is totally fine. So we will just copy this code and paste it for other rows as well. Now let's just copy this code. Okay, here we will update our index values. We will have 3. We will have 4 here. We will have 5. We will have 6, 7, and 8. And what we are going to do is that we should not have lines in our last row. Now let's call this function. Let's see how does it work. Okay. There is something going on. Okay, there is some syntax error. Sorry, I didn't mention the index here. Okay, so it looks very good and it looks much of like this. So we have achieved our first objective, that was designing of board. Now, the second objective is going to be taking input from the user and placing the symbols in our board. For example, if we have, if we have a board looking like this, and if the user enters that position 1, so the function should place a value here, and then if another player comes in and press position 2, the function should put the value here, and so on. Okay. So to achieve this functionality, we are going to have some restrictions in our function. So the first restriction is going to be the index should not exceed the limit of 8 and 8 should not go below 0, because we have an array of ranging from 0 till 8 only. Now there is another limitation to it as well. Another limitation is that the user will enter position, and position and index are both different things. So position and index are differ by one value. So if the user enters the position 1, it should be index 0. So another thing that we are going to do is to decrement our position input. Now there is another issue that is going to be faced by us if we do not consider it at this time, that can be overriding the value. How? For example, if you guys can see that there is value at position 1 and there is value at position 2. What if user enters position 1 and position 2 again in the function? So it will override these values and we do not want that to happen. Okay, so we will avoid this scenario. Now to avoid this scenario and make the user re-enter this value, we are going to solve this with some if conditions. Okay, so let's have a look at the functions in our implementation, that how we are going to deal with this. So let's name our function as player turn. We will have a player turn function which will receive a character star board, which means the pointer, and we will receive the respective value of the character. Okay, so if it is player 1, so this function can be used for both players, just we have to pass different symbols. Okay, now let's have a look. So first thing first is that we have to place our input in the while loop. So first of all, let's declare the position variable. Then we will have a while loop that will remain true. Okay, so while 1 means it will remains true. So you can write while true and you can write while 1 as well. So both are similar things. Now we will ask the user to enter the position. So enter the position, and we will take input and store it in position variable, and then we will decrement the position here. Why? Because as we have already discussed that there is going to be the difference between position and index, so position minus minus. Now let's have a look at our if condition. So our if condition is going to make sure that board at position is equals to an empty space with a space bar. So what it means that the program will check whether this space is empty with space bar or not. So if it is not empty, it will tell the user to re-enter your value again. Now let's have AND symbols because we need to satisfy other conditions as well. So the position must be greater than or equals to 0, and the position must be less than or equals to 8. Now let's have a look. If these conditions are satisfied, then what you would do, that board at position will enter that value which it has received, and it will break out of the loop. In case if it doesn't get out of the loop for any of these conditions, so what it will do, it will ask the user to re-enter the values again. Please re-enter the position. Okay, and we will print this statement out of while loop just to make it look more clear and readable to the user. Now let's have a look. So first of all, what we are going to do is to take input from user. So that is player turn. We will pass our board array, and we will pass the player to character, let's say. And we will call this function 3 times just to check our values as well. So player 2 again, and player turn, board, and player 2 again. Okay, now let's just print our pattern with board. Now let's have a look. So enter the position 1, okay, position 2, okay, position 3, okay, and everything has been placed at its own position. So position 1, position 2, and position 3. Now let's check the other conditions. The other conditions are whether position 0 exists or not. It does not exist. So it asks the user, please re-enter the position. So that is good. Now we will ask the user to enter position 10. It also does not exist, so please re-enter the position. Okay, so if the position exists, for example, I entered the value at first position, so it got stored. It is not asking the position for another time. Now let's re-enter the value at position 1 once again. It is asking me to re-enter the position. So this means that our logic is working good and our conditions are good to go. So what we have achieved so far, let's have a look. So far we have a board that will look like this, and we have created a function that will take input from user and will store it in empty blocks. Okay, and it will make sure that it should not rewrite the values or exceed the index conditions. Now what we have to do is to design such function which will decide whether a player has won or not. Let's have a look at the logic for that. Now to understand the logic for that, let me just show you this, and let me give you some symbols. Let's have these are some values. So how does this game work? This game works if any player has 3 consecutive symbols in a row, or a second row, or a third row, or if any player has 3 consecutive symbols in first column, in second column, or third column, or if any player has 3 consecutive symbols diagonally from left to right or right to left. So that player is going to be a winner. Okay? But if all the blocks have been filled and no winner has been declared, that means the match is a tie. So this is the basic concept behind declaring a winner and declaring the game as a tie. Now how can we achieve this? We can achieve this by simply checking for each block. Means that I'll just give you one row example. This means that we will check board at index 0, board at index 1, and board at index 2. If if these three are equals to same symbols, whether it is X or it is 0, then that player is going to be a winner. And same is the case for all the other rows, columns, and diagonals as well. So this is going to be our logic. Now if you calculate these, we have this scenario. The scenario is that we have 3 rows, we have 3 columns, and we have 2 diagonals. Okay? Now if any of these scenario is achieved by any player, that will be declared as a winner. Okay? So that means that every scenario must have or operator with them. So one scenario or second scenario or third scenario. But within those scenarios, we have 3 blocks. And we have 3 blocks, all of 3 must be equal to same symbols. So we must use the AND symbol. So one and second and third. So this is our logic, and we are going to implement this in our code blocks. So let's go. Okay. So we will say that integer check winner, and we will receive character star board and nothing else. Okay. So the check will be just on the board. Okay. Now how will it work? So we are going to use if. So for the first row, what do we have for the first row? If board 0 is equals to X and board at 1 is equals to at X again, and board at second index equals to X again, and or. Now we will have for second row 0, 1, 2, so this is 3 equals to X, and board 4 equals to X, board 5 is equals to X again, and or. and we just missed and symbols here. Okay, I guess we are good. Now what do we have here? Let me explain you. This represents, now let me show you in the drawing. We have a pattern like this where these are the index values: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, as you guys can see that we have a board on the left side and we have a board in the coding on the right side. So what does first row mean? The first row means if the board 0th index is equals to x, that means this. And the second part means if the board index is equals to x again. And the third part means if board second index is equals to x as well. So as you guys can see that it satisfies the winning condition and this player will be considered as winner. Now we said that this will work for each row, for each column and diagonals as well. Just you have to put the right index positions. So for row second we will put 3, 4, 5, as you can see 3, 4, 5. And for row third we will put 6, 7, 8. And for column 1, 0, 3, 6. For column 2, 1, 4, 7. And for column 3, 2, 5, 8. For diagonal left to right, we will put 0, 4, 8, and for diagonal right to left, we will put 0, 4, 6. So in this way, we will achieve our 8 scenarios and we will have a look with the help of OR operator. So at one time, one scenario must be satisfied, and within each scenario, these 3 conditions must be satisfied. That's why we are using AND within the elements, but we are using OR within the columns, rows and diagonals. So I hope this demonstration will help you understand this code better. Now let's get back into the normal mode. So I guess you guys have got the idea. Now I will just quickly fast forward this part and mention all of the indexes and possibilities here as well. Alright, so we have our board created. So this is 0, 1, 2, the first row, 3, 4, 5, second row, 6, 7, 8, third row, 0, 3, 6, first column, 1, 4, 7, second column, 2, 5, 8, third column, 0, 4, 8, first diagonal from left to right, and 2, 4, 6, second diagonal from right to left. Now we will say the computer, the compiler, our program, that return the value as 1 because this is for player 1. So we will know that it is returning 1, so the player 1 is winner. Now if there is another situation, if the player 2, so I will just quickly copy paste this code and reconfigure this X with just O. Alright, so we have designed our O code as well, just these two are remaining. Okay, so we have this. Now let me just revise the whole concept for you, and we will just have a return value of 2 for this second player. Now let me just quickly give you a walkthrough of this function and then we will move on to our next part of this project.